welcome to Warmaster Podcast episode 198 with Paul and Barry.
Hello, listeners. Today's army review is Tomb Kings. So why is it Tomb Kings, Barry? Why choose Tomb Kings?
Because that's the order they come in.
Oh, okay. Fair enough then.
Because it's all very random in the book. The first time I read the book, it was like Empire, Tomb Kings. Like, where's the order? It's not alphabetical.
It's not alphabetical.
Yeah, it's just like, all right.
Yep, okay.
So that's why it's Tomb Kings. And then...
Fair enough. And we will follow the format of we will both say 3 good, 3 bad, and 3 wise over to the Tomb Kings.
And do a list.
And we have written a real list. I do not know Barry's list. Barry does not know my list.
Oh, you probably have a good guess at my list.
But yeah, and we will talk about the reasons why we chose that list.
Okay. Yeah. If anybody's interested, chaos next, because that's what comes next.
Fair enough then. Yeah, okay.
So what is the fluff of the old Tomb Kingos?
Okay, so we are reading from Warmaster Armies, latest version.
I mean, that is originally GW's fluff.
Yes, it is.
Because we haven't remade the fluff or anything. This is what came in the Warmaster rulebook. Back in 2020 or whenever. 2000, not 2020.
Yeah, 2000. So this is fluff era 2000 fluff. So Tomb Kings. In ages past, in the land of Kemri was fertile, populous, and prosperous, thanks to the waters of the great river of life, whose annual floods irrigated the fields and guaranteed a bountiful harvest. Each city was ruled by a priest king, and for many centuries those omnipotent monarchs lived and died, and they were buried in tombs constructed by their faithful leech priests, the bodies of the priest kings. And those of their most faithful troops and retainers were carefully embalmed and interred with the holy spells of immortality to prepare them for the far-off day of reawakening. Unfortunately, for the priest kings of Kemri, their dreams of eternal life were to be realised only in the most horrific way. A rebellious leech priest called Nagash overthrew the cities of Kemri and made himself ruler of the entire land. Consequently, he was driven into exile and eventually murdered. However, this was not the end of Nagash, for he was the greatest sorcerer of his day, and if not of all time. And whilst the Black Pyramid endured Nagash's spirit, could always find refuge there. Very Lord of the Rings, isn't it? You know, like, his evil was gradually absorbed into the Black Pyramid, and his body reborn in the sorceress sarcophagus that lay deep within. Nagash's vengeance upon his enemies was absolute. From deep within the Black Pyramid, he worked upon a great spell of death that he eventually cast upon the whole of the land of Kemri. Consequently, a pestilence fell upon the nation, and all living things sickened and died, so that soon there were none to bury the dead, and the cities became nothing but empty tombs. What was alive was now dead, and what was dead was revived as undead. On that terrible day, the rulers of the old awoke to a horror that had befallen them. The golden immortality in which they had believed had proven a false dream. The Tomb Kings were mightily angered to discover that they had been treated in this way, and there were a great many of them. Whole dynasties rose at once, ancient rivals and bitter enemies side by side. But most of all, their anger was reserved for Nagash. They saw the Black Pyramid and felt the dark winds of sorcery that blew about the shining black walls and understood they had been betrayed. From their tombs, the Tomb Kings had reordered their kingdoms. Their peoples, most interred without the benefit of raw magic, were little more than automatons. Undead armies wheel and manoeuvre with ingrained military instinct, continually refighting old wars or pursuing new ones amidst the dry deserts. The terrible spell that created them binds them to the land, but offers no succour. Those that perish in the battle rise each dawn, and even those who are destroyed entirely, burned but to smoke or vaporised by sorcery, live on as vengeful spirits that can be heard in the wailing of the wind and groaning of great stones in the mountains. If the Tomb Kings take any comfort, it is only the recreation of their ancient empire, a shadow of former existence that evokes memories of the lives they once led. There you go.
It's a bit of everything going on. A bit of Egypt, a bit of Lord of the Rings.
A bit of Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Ancient Egypt.
So the point there, we're like, so the Tomb Kings that you play are the army that is, all of it has been risen, it's imagine, so there are priest kings there who are separated by centuries and thousands of years, and they are all alive, and they're all undead at the same time. So that's why they also are a faction that fights each other a lot, because it's like, hang on, it's you like every generation of that royal family is now back alive, and who's in charge? Like, if every generation, well, that's the point. But it's you can see why there's they infight a lot, because the ones that have an ability of free will are like, well, hang on, you're alive with your great granddad, your great great granddad, and your great great granddad wants to be in charge, but you want to be in charge as well. So it's like, well, what do you do?
Fight.
Yeah, fight. Fight.
Fight. Now, if you're relatively new to the game, and these are kind of aimed at newish players.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
The big thing you need to learn about Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts to a degree as well is the army rules, because they are undeadsies.
They are undeadsies.
And that makes things very, very different.
Yes.
And so I'll let Paul read them out.
And it's the beauty of the mechanics of Warmaster that in 2 pages you get this entire army out. So, special rules, army rules, undead. Undead units never act on initiative. Any undead unit that moves...
You didn't do the bit of fluff. There's a little bit of fluff. They cut that out.
No, they cut that flat. Yeah.
It's just undead troops are quite beyond any feelings of revulsion.
Yeah, no, not that.
Fear, trepidation,
that's
or anything else for that matter.
What does that tell you? There's no rules.
They are dead.
There's no rules.
And this is classic Rickness.
Yeah.
They are dead.
Yeah.
And as such, nothing holds any real terror for them. Conversely, the spells that bind them to life allow only the most rudimentary or specialised intelligence. The following rules apply to all units.
Yep.
And here we go.
So that could have just been said... all applies to all units.
What's the beauty in that?
Yeah.
So it's all about, you've got your keywording and you've got the Rick.
Yeah, the Rick way.
I prefer the Rick way.
A
bit of elegance, bit of flourish.
Fair enough. So, undead units never act on initiative. Any undead
So that's big.
That is massive, yeah.
No, I mean, like, you say it.
Oh, yeah.
As if it doesn't mean anything.
No, but I'm reading out the rule first.
But, I mean, you need to stop there and explain, because, that is an enormous thing in the game.
So a key measurement in Warmaster is 20 centimeters. 20 centimeters is like the engagement range, and I guess it's kind of considered like kind of the range of like a Warhammer battlefield, I guess. Anyway, and you act on and a living troops, which is everybody but Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts, with the exception of ghouls, is alive. So you have initiative. Means you can charge or you can retreat.
Yes.
Yes, you are limited. It's very, and you can be mitigated against because it's an automatic move that you don't control the subtlety of it. But you either charge or you retreat. Undead can't do that.
No. So that means that late game, they can be quite difficult to control.
They can,
because whereas living troops, once you start fighting, there's an element of them. They'll just, as long as you don't mind them fighting, they will just get on and fight.
Yeah.
They don't always get to choose their targets, but they will fight.
The classic thing is like an Orc and Goblin army, which is hard to control, but once it gets to an initiative range, you're just sending it in anyway. It's doing what it should be doing. It's fighting.
Yeah. So these guys don't have initiative, which is a big one. They also can't run away, which is another big one. So next.
An undead unit can only move in the command phase if given orders, except carrion, which can also home back, and that is a simpler rules mechanic thing to make them able to work.
Yes.
Because
fly
is going to become on in 20. Yeah.
Strangely, that counts as a bit of an initiative move.
But
it's an exception.
It's why it's there.
Yeah, it has to be there, otherwise the way flyers work, they don't work.
Okay. So, undead units are unaffected by the -1 command penalty for enemy within 20 centimeters.
That's a massive one.
That's a big one.
Massive one.
Because if you've got infantry, you're always going to have that.
Always.
Undead units are unaffected by the -1 combat penalty for fighting terrifying troops. Again, a massive benefit. And undead units are unaffected by the confusion rule. They cannot become confused for any reason. Because why would they? Because they're dead.
So a great thing about undead is you've got a brigade. On the front, you maybe got some archers, and then behind them you can have whatever in column or line. It doesn't really matter. So somebody shoots the archers, does like 2 wounds. Yeah. You say, all right. It doesn't matter what you roll. I'm not moving anywhere.
Exactly.
And I'm not confused.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you have to take a standoff, or shooting does literally nothing.
Yeah. It's immense, very powerful. It's in that ability. Well, you'll always have a way to control your troops next time. That lack of confusion. It does like a lot of things. Like for example, your ball of flame spell, which direct line spell. Yeah. So like against undead. Not that really.
You can still move the brigade.
You can still move them, but it's like, you're playing it to get lots of rolls for confusion and confuse a brigade.
Yeah.
Undead, it's not going to happen.
And with the way that if you've got multiple rolls against a single brigade, the owner of the brigade chooses the order. That's right. So you just move. Yeah. You'd say, roll back 4 on the one that's not going to move, and then the next one that's not going to next one, and you might have to move one at the back a little bit, but that's it.
That's it. Yeah. It's very powerful.
Very powerful.
Plus also the whole not being affected by penalty for enemy troops. I mean, obviously your commander is then stronger. And Tomb Kings can have a lot of infantry, so that's a big deal. And undead troops also no terrifying. Like terrifying doesn't matter to them. That's terrifying is the most common combat modifier in the game. That's easy. Yeah. That is one. Unlike positioning, where if you're flank charged, you get -1 attacks. But you've been flank charged. Putting a flying character into a combat is low skill.
It's easy.
You know, and undead won't matter to them. Yeah, so that's really good.
It is. So, as a package of army rules, that is the full lot, isn't it?
That is army rules, yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah, yeah. And so in a simple, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, we've created a really interesting army mechanics there, which are like makes them play significantly different.
Well, it's not we.
No, it was
the man.
The man. So like, the man. But it makes them play significantly different from a living
absolutely.
army.
So and if elves and leadership 10 didn't exist, then undead would be the top tier for command.
Yes,
because they don't suffer the enemy near.
That's right. Yep.
So if you've got infantry and you're doing it with your Tomb King, it's always 9-8. 9-8. Because it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
9 to get within 20 and then 8.
Yep.
If you've got cavalry and sometimes you go, I've got to stay outside 20 to get to work, but I need 30 and I can't. Who cares?
Don't matter about that.
There we go.
Don't matter.
But it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So that's a really strong mechanic. Really strong mechanic. So what about the list?
Okay,
what have
so
we got?
In the list we have 2 infantry, 1 cavalry, 1 chariot, 3 monster, 2 artillery, and your character package, which does not have a hero in it. It has a general and wizards. It does not have heroes. So that's already different.
Well, so definitely some differences.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, unit entries. And only 2 characters, and also the characters currently have 2 monstrous mounts.
So this is definitely one of the earlier lists where you've only got like 2 infantry choices. Your choices, and we're going to say them now. Your choices are skeletons and skeletons with bows.
Yep,
that's it.
That is it.
So skeletons are like garbage tier.
So skeletons, infantry, 2 attacks, 3 hits, 6 up armor. 30 points. You've got to take a minimum of 2 in 1,000 points. So you've got to remember with the points for everything, it's factoring in the undead rules into it, because these aren't like other troops. They aren't like another 30-point unit. They aren't another. That profile 236 isn't the same as another profile which is 236, because undead have their own army rules, which is kind of built into them. Yeah, they're garbage. Skeletons are terrible, but there's a reason they have to be terrible, because if they were good, like better, that would be a problem.
Well, not necessarily, because we are going to have to. Sometimes I'm going to stray into the Wildlight Vampire counts.
Yes,
and that's because they have better quality shit to use.
Exactly.
With the same rules.
With the same rules. Yeah.
So, but we were sticking with Tomb King. So you've got your skeletons here.
Yep.
Basically, these are halberdiers with 1 less attack.
Yeah, but as I said
and
before,
they're cheaper.
And affected by the undead rules. Yeah.
So even when you charge another
halberdier,
you're still only as good as they are. And you're like, hey, but I'm just charging. And if you get charged, oh my god, these guys disappear quick when they get charged.
They do, yeah. I mean, they disappear quick whatever happens. But we will come on to the strengths, as in when we come into our good and bad and wise. We come into the strengths of it in our own.
I remember when we first did these, was it quantity is a quality of its own or something? This is these fellas. So the next one is the bowmen.
So these are infantry, 2 attacks and 1 shot. 3 hits, no armor, 45 points. You've got to have a minimum of 2, so it means you're going to have at least 4. Now these guys are so they have when a bowman unit has no armor and it has only 2 attacks, which is the minimum you can get. Is no unit has 1 attack. They are only bowmen. These guys cannot fight. Yeah,
they're not that much worse than skeletons.
No, they're not much worse, but they are.
At least they get to shoot on the way.
They get to shoot, I suppose. But these guys are like some archers. You're like, you could potentially get a fight out of them. Not these guys. They are. You're gonna have 4. They're good to be supported. They're good to do what bowmen do. They can't be confused essentially, so that can be a strength. For as in you could have them on your front line. They're great against being shot at because you take damage, you don't do anything, you don't move. Because
you're not confused.
You've got them
behind,
no confusion. You got to fire back. So so they obviously have a role, but they elite fighters they are not.
Yes, but the interesting thing about these is for 45 points.
45.
They shoot as good as anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the
elves. Apart from the high elves.
Yeah, but I mean, they shoot as well as Empire.
Yeah, they do.
Crossbowmen.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And they're cheaper.
Yep.
And they're not going to put up a good fight, but neither do the Empire crossbowmen.
No,
they're in the open.
they're not. Yeah.
So there is a list running around where people really, really, really lean into
skew into that
because they're unlimited.
Yeah, they are unlimited. Yeah.
And they're only 45 points. So if you were the person that wanted to play that crazy gunline army, you can really lean into these and do some. I mean, I might talk about some obnoxious tricks you can use to kind of but if you get time, I will do. But
Yep.
But yeah, but I must admit, if you play that list, it isn't going to be fun.
No,
for your opponent.
you or anybody. Yeah.
Well, if you got like, you could put 20 units to these down.
You could, yeah.
I mean, that is a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of bows. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're as good as anybody else's bows apart from the elves, and they're fucking cheap.
Yeah. And you'll lose a unit, they may lose something. It's a good trade. So our skeleton cavalry are naturally cavalry with 2 attacks, 3 hits, 5 up armor, 60 points, no min, no max. No additional special rules. Aside from obviously the army rules. So these are bad medium cavalry. They're 5 up armor. They've got 2 attacks each.
You see, this is the subtlety of the game, right? Because you think I'm losing an attack.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a 30-point discount, aren't
I? What
off the price of medium cav? Because medium cav's 3.
But also,
3-3-5.
Also, your medium cav is alive, and you've got to remember the undead rules again. They can't be. I don't think they can be straight comparison A to B because the B doesn't have the army rules.
So these guys should be good enough because they're cheap. But I'm always underwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, they could.
I saw Nick use them really well to do things at distance, engaging distance, and then put spells in behind and stuff.
Yeah. They can come in on a flank. Obviously, they're going to put 3 bases.
Plenty good enough in flanks.
So they. I mean, if you played them a bit like Chaos Hounds, that kind of stuff.
Well, Chaos Hounds hit harder.
They do hit harder, but at least these guys have got some.
Even the dire wolves hit harder on the charge.
Yeah. They're a strange cavalry unit.
But they
don't break.
Points-wise, they should be a bargain. But
they're an interesting unit. They're like you can't really frontal charge with them because you're not doing enough.
I know, and you can't take a charge very well.
You can't take a charge.
I think there comes a point, and this is with these guys where like their stats just aren't enough to fight.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're fighting with goblins or something.
Yeah, just weak.
Weak troops.
Anyway, okay. So your skeleton chariots, obviously a chariot, 3 attacks, 1 shot, 3 hits, 5 up armor, 110 points, minimum nothing, maximum's 3, so it means you could take 6. And obviously now Tomb Kings are known for their chariots. That was their thing.
These are good.
These are good, and they are good. Like so, you're paying for it. Like in Quebec, like so far we've had 30, 45, 60. Now we're 110 points.
I mean, 110 says hooga.
Yeah. But I mean, they've got a ranged attack.
So how much is a chariot?
What a naked chariot?
Regular,
like
chariot.
a 95, isn't
95.
it?
So you're paying 15 points to get
shooting and the undead rules.
And the shooting is like obviously because your cavalry is narrow base, like
narrow
your
base.
reavers.
Yeah.
You're like a reaver.
Yeah.
Crossed with a chariot.
That's right, you are. Yeah.
I mean that is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
With the undead rules for 110
so like
points.
in the fluff, the chariots was this is how the nobles went to war. Right. The nobles didn't go to war on horses particularly. It was a chariot based army, and so this is the best. This is the cream of the Tomb Kings.
Right.
Are on the chariots.
So these guys are what get me excited about playing Tomb Kings because they are your Cold One Knights or they're your like Silverhounds or whatever it is.
So obviously you're charging in the open. Chariots going to be 5 dice each, 15 dice on a small frontage. It's very good. You gotta pay more attention to scenery because there are things that chariots can't do that cavalry can do.
Yes.
So you got to pay attention to that. Watch out for your linear obstacles. Walls are the enemies of chariots.
And your fields.
Yeah,
plowed fields, all that
plowed fields. Watch out for them. They ain't good for chariots. But it's
a small face and that shooting. Even when they get charged, you could put a lot.
And this is something that we're going to compare them to Vampire Counts. Vampire Counts doesn't have a 5 doesn't have a chariot.
Doesn't have any shooting.
Doesn't have any shooting. Doesn't have a chariot. So that is okay. So why are you playing? So I'm going to go
later.
Later.
But this is what gets me excited about them. Mm-hmm. But the same as anything, when you start playing this game, you'll realise that the difference between 5 up armour and 4 up armour is how long you can fight.
It's how long you fight, yeah.
And they burn themselves out, just with like everything else with 5 up armour does.
Yeah, it's like 5 up armour generally doesn't become combat effective after a combat.
Certainly, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they suffer from lack of initiative.
So we have Carrion. There are monsters. They're 2 attacks, 3 hits, and 6 up armor. 65 points, minimum nothing, maximum 1. First special rule of the game for us is Carrion. Carrion can fly. Note that Carrion can always return to a character by homing back at the start of the command phase. So they are flyers.
Yeah, but they're good flyers.
Yeah, they're good flyers. Yeah.
No, they're proper base.
They're proper, so they're small based. Narrow based. Yeah.
And
So
it's funny in this
they're
game.
monsters. That's 4 attacks on the charge.
Yep.
So you can put 12 attacks into somebody's flank quite easily. That mitigates their low armor, and obviously flyers means it gives them a massive reach of 60 centimeter charge. You should have a unit at least of these in the army because they do things that flyers can do.
Yeah, and the way that the game is priced, you don't really pay any more to have them short based.
No,
it's just some armies are lucky to get them short based, and some armies like the Vampire Cats have them long based. Mm-hmm. So carrying another good unit for this bunch, and then we got some.
So our second monster is a Bone Giant. 6 attacks, 4 hits, and 4+ armor. One stand thing, 110 points, minimum nothing, maximum 1, and it has Bone Giant. Bone Giants cause terror, and when a Tomb King gives an order to a Bone Giant or a brigade that contains a Bone Giant, there is a -1 command penalty. There is no penalty when a Leech Priest gives an order. So this is a monster that doesn't have enough hits to have been badly hurt. It's 4 hits only, so it's effective or it's dead. It
kind of works like a kind of spawn or something.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a way, if you put it alongside your poor skeletons, it's a way of getting quite a bit more punch without with quite a lot of protection. Obviously, a 4+ armor. So if it was the edge of a brigade, then your giant can act, and it's a monster, so it could chase cavalry if you beat cavalry off. It could go after them. So I think it does have a place alongside your skeletons as kind of like a spawn is in Chaos.
Yeah, but the difference is the spawn's protecting some of this
already good. So the Bone Giants
this is like lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, basically lipstick on a pig. Exactly.
Unfortunately. I mean, it's quite a nice profile, and it's not got none of the confusion, craziness of a regular giant.
It's not going to go strange. Giant. And it doesn't. So it definitely hasn't got a giant go wild. It's a reliable 6 attacks coming back. That's quite well protected.
8 if you charge.
Yeah, 8 if you charge. It's a monster.
Okay, it can't be badly hurt because it's not big enough. So I mean, it's pretty good. It's good profile. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So our second monster.
How many of those are like 1 per 1,000?
So you can have 2. Yeah. So our second one is a Sphinx, which is a monster. Now this one's a strange one. It's got 4 attacks and 6 hits. I don't know what else is 6 hits in the game. It's got a 3+ armor. I mean, that is as good as you can get.
That is as good as you can get.
So it's just 1 stand, and it's 135 points, minimum nothing, maximum special rule 3. Sphinx. Because the Sphinx has so many hits, 6, we must consider the possibility of hurting the Sphinx and reducing its effectiveness in subsequent turns. Therefore, if the Sphinx is accommodated 4 to 5 hits by the end of the shooting phase or combat phase, is no longer engaged in combat, it's deemed to have been badly hurt. And once the Sphinx is badly hurt, all accumulated hits are discounted to its maximum hits, and attacks are halved. So it means it goes to 3 hits and 2 attacks. The Sphinx causes terror. So that's your second terror-causing thing in the army. So Tomb Kings have access to quite a lot of terror.
They do.
And they can put it out.
And they don't suffer it.
Don't suffer it. And now your Sphinx, its role with its 6 hits and 3+ armor, I think it wants to be more away from everything, and it's brilliant at taking a cavalry.
Yeah, but you're talking, it's just a steam tank in disguise.
It's a steam tank in disguise.
But I think the steam tank's better because it does shoot, and it can't be driven
I think a steam tank is better.
And blah, 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 blah.
Your Sphinx, so say your average cavalry unit of 3 attack knights charges this Sphinx. They're only going to get 9 dice because they're terrified. And then 9 dice gets 4 or 5 hits, of which your armor easily catches all but 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then it's whether you can do another 1 or 2 wounds back with your 4 attacks. Even if you don't and you fall back, it's not a big problem because your Sphinx will suck it up. So
the only problem is then it tends to have a fight or maybe and then get badly hurt, and then they're not that great.
They're not that great. But it's a tricky one, and it's player skill level of where do you put your, if you're taking a Sphinx, where do you put it in your combat? Like, where do you put it in your line? What is its role to do? It's where is it best off? The Bone Giants are easier. They're alongside the skeleton infantry to give them some punch. The Sphinx is a lot more trickier to use.
So, with the badly hurt thing, the rules have been changed.
Yes.
Now, so it's only at the end of the combat.
That's right.
So if you can carry on fighting at full strength and push it further than you would normally, and then when the combat breaks, then you go back, or at the end of turn you go to your diminished profile.
So we have the Tomb Kings have 2 artillery units. The first one is Skull Chucker, which is 1 attack and 3 shots, 3 hits, no armor, 85 points. Unit size is
One.
1. 85 points. Minimum nothing, maximum 1. Special 4. Skull Chugger. Skull Chugger is a stone thrower, which is in the rulebook, main rulebook, which basically means it gives it a 60 centimetre range and it can fire indirectly and doesn't allow armour saves. But with additional rule, when a unit is driven back as a result as a hit scores by the Skull Chugger, then any dice rolled in respect of these hits will cause confusion on a 4, 5, or 6 rather than a 6. That's big.
That is big.
Note that if a unit has taken other hits as well, it's necessary to roll the Skull Chugger separately, and see the artillery and machine section for the rules of stone thrower rules, which I just said. So it's range 60 and it can fire indirectly. If it indirectly means it can fire at what it can't see, the closest thing it can't see, if it can't see a target, and it hits them on 6s. So at least it's something. But that confusion of 4, 5, or 6 means really it's going to confuse what it hits.
Well, yeah, but it's only shooting 3 and there's only one stand.
There's only one stand.
So if you put 2 together, that's 6.
That's 6.
So half of them hits 3.
Yeah, and you will confuse. You should confuse something.
So you're going to do 3 wounds and you should confuse.
Yes.
Like it's like 7/8.
Yes, exactly.
So you're going to confuse.
So if it wants to combine with some other shooting to push that wounds you've done to the opponent to like 4 or 5 to start taking off stands.
Well, what these don't do is what cannon does.
No, they can't stand.
They're not going to blow you off the table.
No, they're not.
Because they're not doing enough shots.
No, but the fact that, remember, people often forget they can fire indirectly, which obviously means
it's on a 6 though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on a 6, but they can do it. And so if you had 2 of them together, they're all 6 dice. They should get 1 hit, and that 1 hit's got a good chance of causing confusion.
Well,
it's worth,
50,
it's worth
it's
worth remembering.
It's
worth remembering your rules because these things can do something which is quite rare in the game. Yeah. So our second artillery is a bone thrower.
Bolt thrower.
Bolt thrower.
It may well be a bone.
It says a bone thrower.
It may well be a bone they throw.
It might be a bone. A big bone.
Big sharp bone.
Throw me a bone. Artillery. It's got 1 attack and 2 shots plus the skewer mechanic. 2 hits, no armor. 2 stands. 65 points. Minimum nothing. Maximum 1. Rule 5. Bone throwers is a bolt thrower as described in the rulebook. And basically, so then we have to cut to the rulebook. And the bolt thrower doesn't allow armor saves, and it pierces through ranks. So it means
it's only 1 rank now, though.
It is only 1 rank.
Yeah. So you get 2 on the first one and 1 on the one.
Because it used to be 1 plus skewer.
1.
Yeah. So this is better. And they're range 40, which is
2 units too.
Yeah, there's unit 2. So they're a good supporting artillery piece to go alongside. Yeah, the Skull Chuggers.
And they got standing shoe, which
they have standing shoe.
The stone throwers don't have.
They don't have
so I mean, if you don't protect them, they're pretty easy to take out. Stone throwers.
Very easy to take out. Almost no defense.
Well, they get 1 attack, and that's
it. That's it. Yeah, so we go on to our character package, of which there are only 2, and I think is this the only army that only has 2 characters?
It's not. But I mean, you couldn't really have another one, could you? Because we'll talk about why.
So a Tomb King is the general.
The big man.
2 attacks. Command 9 is 130 points. And
Why is he more?
Because of this, the Tomb King rule. Tomb King is empowered by the spells cast upon him when buried. He can use that power to increase the combat attack values of all the stands in one unit within 20 centimetres by +1 for the duration of 1 combat phase. This ability can only be used once per game. It's not something you can dispel. It's just like he gives an extra 3 attacks to normally a unit.
I never remembered to do that.
No, you'd never remember that. But he has it.
It'd be funny if he was in combat.
Yes, he could. Yeah, exactly. And
so that's why he pays a little bit extra, because it's normally 125 for that profile.
But he's a Command 9 general who none of his troops are going to be affected by enemies within 20 centimetres.
Okay.
So yes, as Barry said, they can push their command further than you think. Then we have a Leech Priest, the only other character, which is a wizard. So a +1 attack, command 8, 90 points, minimum 2, minimum nothing, maximum 2. They don't have any special rules. But there's a Bone Giant there, where if you're giving an order to a Bone Giant, a Leech Priest doesn't have a -1 penalty to it, where a Tomb King would. So they're the things that keep the army around. And so what we have is a general, obviously command distance unlimited.
Yeah.
And then we have wizards, command distance 20.
Well, that is the truth, sir.
That is true.
They're not unique in that.
No hero category. Yeah.
No hero category, but you've got to lean into these fellas.
Yes, they are.
They are the army.
They are the army. They are what you're playing. Yes, because their spell selection, which we'll come on to, we'll do the monstrous mounts, and then I'll read out the spells. The spells there's the gem of a spell in that spell deck.
So I think I've seen people run 3. I'd run 4. But you can't go lower than 3.
No.
Because you've got no initiative.
You've got no initiative, and you have range 20.
And you have range 20, and you want to be casting spells.
You want to be casting spells.
Yeah, you're pushing your command all over the place.
So then we have 2 mounts, a zombie dragon, a monstrous mount, plus 3 attacks, and a zombie dragon, a tomb king or a leech priest could ride the zombie dragon, and it's the standard rule for dragons. Can fly, shoots fire, causes terror. It's no different from a live dragon, exactly the same. Then we have a leech chariot, a chariot mount for 10 points, just gives you, and a tomb king or a leech priest can ride that chariot, and it gives you +1 attack.
So it's just a chariot.
But it does obviously then make the character a chariot thing, so it means limits of where it can.
Same with the monster.
Same with the monster. So our spells decks, we have Raised Dead. Range 30, 5 up to cast. So shall I read out all the text, or should you just explain what it does?
Well, you might get a bit bogged down in the
text,
the placing of what actually happened.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, if you're going to play this army, you're going to have to spend some time on your own.
Working this out.
Imagining situations of raising dead and seeing where you can actually put
the
unit. So
you cast this into a combat, and if it's successfully cast, you place a new unit of skeletons, which does not count to your break. So and you'll want some way of easily remembering that they're raised units.
I use a single strip.
There are loads of ways you can do it. Just put a little token down beside them.
It looks completely different.
Yes.
Single strip.
That's easy.
Because as an opponent, there is nothing worse than you tooling up and killing a unit and then realising it was raised dead.
So you've created a new unit in combat. They don't count as charging, but that's not really what you do it for. Normally, they're placed they're brilliant against single units because they're just taking away attacks from the enemy and not losing anything. Yeah. The danger is sometimes if you're fighting against really good quality troops and you're putting in brigades and you're putting skeletons to touch them, you're actually giving the opponent more attacks than you're giving them because your troops are terrible. But the real...
But you don't have to maximise the content, do you?
No, you don't.
So you can just put one in and then put some in support and stuff like that.
Exactly. But the gem of this is you're creating a unit that gives away nothing.
Nothing.
Not victory points, or maybe victory points, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't give away victory points.
But it's it does not give away your break. And,
but even if it did, it's only, 30?
30 points. But that is what makes it so good. And me and Barry have always said, with Raised Dead, if you cast this successfully
3 times,
4 times, probably
over.
won the game. That's probably won you the game in a 2,000 point game.
Because after the combat, say you win the combat, which most of the time you will after you've Raised Dead, you then use the Raised Dead as like a block.
It's a screen, and that
cuts off initiative.
Exactly.
Makes orders harder.
They're going to shoot that. Doesn't matter. Any resources the opponent puts into fighting this skeleton unit,
which they will have to,
is wasted resources for winning the game.
Yeah.
Anything you do back, even if it's just positioning, is helping you.
Any stand that they take, it feels like manna from heaven.
Yeah.
They get your opponent loses a stand trying to kill the Raised Dead unit. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. It's all benefits. It's so strong as a spell.
It is strong.
So Touch of Death, 4+ the cast.
You can only get 1 per combat.
Yeah, 1 per combat. Yeah.
So and then that includes a multiple combat.
That
so
does,
if you've got big stretchy, big maul in the fucking middle, there's only 1 for that. So if you've got lots of little combats, you can get 3 or 4 out of turn.
Yeah, you could.
And that's backbreaking.
Yeah. So Touch of Death, 4+ the cast. This is wizard cast the spell if they're in combat, and what it does is 3 attacks. Usual way, and he hits. They add to combat score. So the wizard has to be joined in that combat.
So this one is a bit strange. So your wizard's got to be in combat.
You will get saves against it because, but it's a 4+ the cast.
I mean, they're not immune to combat. They do have 1 attack, but they're not. That's not really their place.
Not really.
No. And then you got 3 hit on 4 up, and then they get a normal save.
Adds helps you. It's a 4+. So Doom and Despair, 4+ the cast, range 60. This simply stops a enemy unit charging.
So it's more than that, isn't it?
Will not pursue. So engage in combat, they will not pursue or advance. They can't charge. Even units that are obliged to will not do that. And that's what that spell does. It's a great spell.
Oh, this spell is a absolute fucking backbreaker. If you've got something like you're facing an opponent who's got Rhinox Riders, Dragon Ogres, Dragon Rider, the big Dragon, Stegodon.
Doom and Despair that. 4+, not charging.
So you've got 4 shots at 60 centimetres, which is miles.
Massive.
At 4 up. To shut shit down, and that, it breaks your heart. You've got this unit, you've got a big unit, Chaos Knights, that you're given a banner to. They've got 3 up armor, and they're never going to fight.
Any elite unit the enemy's taken is going to get Doom and Despaired.
Until it's Raised Dead time.
Until you're dealing with it in your own way. And it's just like, well, I failed my order to come in, I'll just Doom and Despair you, so you can't charge.
I mean,
days.
this
like
Geralt is annoying.
yes.
4 of these guys casting Doom and Despair. Oh, early game, this is just backbreaking.
Yep. Put it on a unit of flyers, not happening. Yeah, like so Death Bolt, range 5 up to cast, range 30, and this is your standard tacky spell with 3 shooting attacks where you don't get armor saves.
So it's not the line of fire, it's just a single fireball-y type thing.
Yeah. That's our army.
So you've got 2, you've got 1 like top tier spell and you've got 1 like whatever the tier A or whatever. Yeah, so you've got S tier, top tier, and then A tier.
You got 1 S tier spell, and then you got an A tier spell.
And the Death Bolt's B, and the other one that I'm
probably
never
not going to
used
cast.
C, whatever.
Probably not going to cast.
But no, why would you cast it when you could just Doom and Despair something? So even if you charge into something, thinking, "Oh, this is a bit risky," Doom and Despair it. So even if you lose, they can't pursue.
Yeah, exactly. Win-win. Yeah, I mean, there could be a place to delete.
No, you don't just delete.
No, I'm just saying.
There'll be some situational nonsense.
I suppose
it's better than teleport.
Yeah, that's true. Let's give him teleport.
The last looks like teleport. Like, come on. The way this list plays is, unless you're doing something with the Death Bolt or the other thing, you're using Doom and Despair, Doom and Despair, Doom and Despair, and then Raise Dead.
Raise Dead, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Times 4.
Times
in
4.
whatever situation you are.
Yeah, occasionally Death Bolt if you need to do 1 more wound to cause a stand to die or something.
But I mean, what is it? A 5 up, and then you got 3 shots at a 4 up, and it's it's just like it's too hit and miss, isn't it? The Doom and Despair is just like reliable, predictable,
and
like demoralising.
It's true. Right, so I have good, bad, and wise.
Right, so is that enough talk about the spell list? Because I feel like we should be saying how good that is.
Well, yeah, but that comes into
in the next
reasons. Yeah,
okay. Okay. Let's do that then.
Attention! If you need to get your miniatures safely from point A to point B, then get yourself a KR multi-case. KR multi-cases come in all manner of different shapes and sizes and have gamer-friendly pricing. So do yourself a favour and get yourself a KR multi-case today. Soft foam, hard cases.
So you're going to do? You've actually written some. You're not going to steal mine and pretend.
No. I've written, and they might be the same. We don't know.
Well, I don't know. You do your 3 good. Or
my 3 good. Okay.
And I'll do my 3 good.
So my good. They're a horde faction. So
is that good?
Not every army can play as a horde faction.
No, that's true.
And I think that it's a good thing they can be a horde faction. You can certainly build a break beyond 12, beyond 10. And
oh shit! I built one that was 20 odd.
Yeah.
Do you not remember? It was all infantry, like 20 odd or something.
Was it good? Yeah, but you can. So if you've got, if you desire to play a horde faction where you want to outnumber the opponent, this is an army that can do it.
Just don't do it on the clock.
Well, I mean, that's a separate thing in itself. Yeah. But I say, like, it's it's a good point because not every army can do that.
Right.
So another good thing, the Raise Dead spell. I would class that as the best spell in the game.
Oh, I don't know about it. Probably
it's up there.
Yeah, well, definitely.
I personally would say it was the best.
I think the movement spell's lost a bit of its luster recently.
Yeah. But again, we're talking about White Tomb Kings and what's good about them.
Oh, Raise Dead is good.
That spell, that S tier level spell.
Yeah.
Also, my third thing, good, is they actually are good. Tomb Kings are good at defensive play. They are. So I think the army naturally lends more to a defensive mindset, and they are good at doing it. While Vampire Council, you could say, would be more attacking.
Yeah.
Like with your Black Knights.
Well, you've got nothing to defend, have you?
You have nothing to defend. Like Tomb Kings can be a good ranged defensive army.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what's your good points?
My good things. Well, I'm going to start with chariots. Because the chariots are like rock stars. I think I called them last time we did this. They're the rock stars of the list.
Yep.
I said that the spells, Raise, Dead, and Doom and Despair, because I think they're both equally as valuable.
Fair enough. That's your point.
Because we can't do Raise Dead till you're fighting.
No.
So you've got no get-offs. You've got to be doing something. And this
really
pisses
the thing
people off.
Doing. Yeah.
And 4 wizards.
4 wizards.
Not many armies get 4 wizards.
No, not many do. No. I mean, the army is wizards. It can't exist fluff-wise without the magic. So, okay.
So I'm finished.
Okay, go on.
Artillery and bows. I mean, they really go to town. I mean, not maybe... there are things that can have more artillery, like goblins.
Well, there's 2 types. Yes, goblins can,
But I'm not sure anybody can get the amount of bows these fucking guys can get out.
No, probably not.
Because they're dirt cheap. Absolutely dirt cheap. And the only things you've got to take the bows and the skellybobs, aren't you?
That's right. Yep.
So you get your 4 skellybobs in a wood, hiding, and you could go absolutely nuts on the bows.
You could.
You could fill the whole fucking baseline with bows.
You
could
could,
the whole table full of bows.
You could probably have it where it's difficult to fire all those bows. Yeah.
Anything comes within 30, it's like that
bows.
with the meme was
Oh,
running out of the grass and he just gets
like,
slaughtered.
Hit by 40 arrows. It's like,
and a final last good point is the undead rules.
Yes.
Because net they're a positive. Yeah. Which is why you have to kind of suck up some negatives for it.
So that's interesting because in my bad points, as in what I've said, obviously they're dead. They've got no initiative. I've said that's a bad. That's highlighted as one of my bad things. It's like initiative digs you out of a hole when you in later game. Tomb Kings ain't gonna have that. So you won't realize. New players won't realize that until they see it on the play with them. With Tomb Kings, when they start getting dinged up, so they start losing stands, it really hampers their command. Because what does get they're not going to be affected by enemy near, but they are going to be affected by by loss of casualties. You can't regain those casualties. There's no summon demons.
No.
So your chariot. You say your chariots have lost a stand. They are always going to be at -1 combat. You can't do anything about that, and they can't commit.
That's the same for everybody.
It's the same for everybody.
But what you don't have is initiative. But in the Revolution,
yes,
you can use a Lich Priest within 20 or your Tomb King to give them an order to run like a single stand away.
Yes, you could.
Because a normal living troop would just run away.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can still do it now.
Yeah.
Whereas in the olden days, you probably wouldn't waste an order trying to do it because you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And you haven't got that much command.
Okay. My second bad point is their core troops are naturally very weak. Your skeletons is a very weak profile, and your bowman is a weak profile.
But I'm not sure the bowman is a weak profile.
So that's subjective. That's what
I wouldn't want to fight. I wouldn't want to fight Chaos Warriors with them.
No, you wouldn't. Not really.
I might stand here and shoot them.
And my third bad point is they don't have any heavy cavalry. So their cavalry is definitely was not really medium cavalry. Really, is whatever it is. They just don't have. They're not a heavy cavalry army. There's a lack of 4+ armor in the army, only tapped by the monsters. Barry, what's your bad point?
Okay, right. Well, my bad point, sir, is I've been straight to the point. Garbage infantry.
Yep, fair enough. Yeah.
Not necessarily the archers, but the kind of skellybobs.
Yeah.
They're the kind of stuff I just never want to fight with.
Fair enough.
And I say that they can get absolutely murdered by super heavy units and need massive amounts of support to win combat.
That's true.
Or you have to be wrapping around. So if you're facing I don't know, it only needs to be a couple of units of say Chaos Warriors.
Yep.
They're gonna slaughter your skeletons.
They're gonna do a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely slaughter them.
Yeah. Well, that's assuming that you haven't doomed despaired them.
Yes.
Okay,
is it me still?
Yes, you. Your 3 bad points.
Only chariots have punch, and they can get burned out quickly with 5+ armor.
That's true. They're going to do very well in that initial charge when they're fresh. Afterwards, it's pushing uphill. If you're lucky enough to have them all intact, supposedly, but you probably would have lost a chariot or two.
And what you've got to try and do then is just keep fighting.
Yeah.
So even normally you say, I'll come back and I'll try and just keep going, and just burn them out because they're gonna once they start getting dinged up, you're not going to be able to control them anyway. There's no initiative. And just keep them going.
Yeah, they've got 5+ armor. That's really as good as you get in this Tomb King. So at least the enemies are having to hit 5+ armor and not no armor.
And I said the bad is the lack of initiative causes massive problems late game.
So we come on.
We have 5 decent characters to order with, which is good because you're going to take 5.
Yeah.
But it will frustrate you late game when stuff's getting into your flanks and you can't react because there's just no initiative.
So the why. This is the subjective thing. We've got good and bad is about rules mechanics. So the why. Why would you play Tomb Kings? So I have said it's cool fluff. It's well fleshed out, and there's an excellent book series about Nagash in the Warhammer Legends called Nagash, the sword about the M times Nagash. It's like. They are a really interesting army fluff-wise, I think. In terms of it's ripping off the ancient Egyptians and this and what the army was, as in what they were before they were dead, and that explains it in this book series and the fluff. It goes like they were this peak of human civilization. They even looked down on elves. These humans, were like, well, what are elves aren't that great? And it's like these guys were kicking it thousands of years before the empire was a thing. And they were doing it well, and then but how they become undone, is really interesting. And like Nagash is an awesome character, which I've said about before on the show, and it's just like how they go from that pinnacle to the low, what they are left with. Right. And again, remember the fact that what the army you are playing, that's every generation of Tomb King is around at the same time. Oh. It's like, because the problems that would create if every single member of your family was there, every Pitman ever been was there.
Oh my God.
Moaning. Yeah, like
moaning.
So
complaining.
Why would you play Tomb Kings? They can be an easy faction to paint. Oh. I've said that. Like, it's mostly skeletons. Skeletons can anybody can paint skeletons quite nicely. Even Barry could paint them. And so they can be an easy faction to paint if you wanted to go that way. Basically, they're a concept army where you can get them looking good without a lot of effort. Then it's the harder things to make them look even better. And finally, there's some great new sculpts in 3D prints for them. So I've looked around, and my pick is 2 companies make a great Tomb Kings range. Greenskin Miniatures make a complete range of Tomb King models, and they look. I'm surprised they're allowed to be out there because they look exactly like the GWIP. Like, it's even the same poses. Yeah, but the same. Well, I suppose.
A skeleton's a bloody skeleton.
A skeleton. But the way the models are posed.
It makes you can't
copy a pose. But if you wanted to, basically, if you had a Warhammer Tomb Kings army, you wanted to recreate it. Obviously, there's the GW range itself. That would be harder to buy. It's in to find. But if you,
although it was pretty common,
it's pretty common. But if you like, but this Greenskin Miniatures have just recreated the Warhammer the Tomb Kings in miniature. Okay. Also, Cromarty Forge do a very good range in undead, generic undead, which you could use for a Tomb Kings range as well. So if you want to buy off a website, an easy, okay, I want a Tomb Kings army and I don't want to hunt on eBay or I want a fresh one. There's 2 sources there: Greenskin Miniatures and Cromarty Forge.
Okay, absolutely cool. Mm-hmm. Is that it?
That's my whys.
Okay, so why? They're a horde army and they look pretty cool on the tabletop, I think.
Yeah.
Well, unless I'm playing them, then it won't be that big a horde army.
Well, we'll come up to our army lists. Yeah.
They are very easy to paint and base by Warmaster standards.
Yes, that is true.
And the most interesting, difficult thing to base to do is like the shields. If you're going to do anything on the shield, but you don't just paint them brown.
Yeah. Everything's washed out on them. Yeah.
So, and you would play them if you like defensive armies or very big armies.
Fair enough. So we come to our army lists. I will do mine first, and I will go for the army list, and I'll explain why, as in like what I've chosen, why I've chosen, and what it will play like. And there we go. So, all right, 2,000 points. I have gone for 15 skeletons. For 450 points.
Everything counts in large amounts.
It does. Then 2 skeleton bowmen, 2 skeleton cavalry.
Where's the 4 skeleton bowmen, mate?
Oh yeah, shit. Hang on. Yeah, like
you can tell Paul does all his prep. He said, "I'm completely prepped for this." He told me this morning, and I said to him, "Well, that would be a first, Paul."
All right, well, it's easily fixed, isn't it? There we go, fixed already. So right, back up.
Yeah, there's no back up. I'm leaving there.
Yeah. Okay, so start again. So, I've got your 12 skeletons, 360 points, 4 skeleton bowmen. Then
is that the minimum?
That's the minimum. Yeah. So then 2 skeleton cavalry, 2 skeleton chariots, a carrion, a bone giant, a sphinx, 2 skull chuckers, 2 bone throwers, your Tomb King, your 4 leech priests, 20 points of my magic items left over, which I've gone for a wand of power and a wand of repetition. Put whatever you want for 20 points. Gives me a breakpoint of 14. So that most armies will run around the table at about breakpoint 10, 11. This is 14, so you are up on that. And with your and it's a defensive army. It's got something of every. It's got able to have everything in the army list. You've got one at least of any example. So you're playing with a complete range, and you will going to be relying on the shooting of the bone throwers, your magic, to like doom and despair stuff. You've got you've got 4 bowmen to shoot and 2 chariots to shoot. So it's a defensive army. It's and you're going to overlap, and yes, if people get into a lot of your skeletons, they'll chew them up. That's the danger. You haven't got the best infantry to fight, but you have got a lot of them, and you're going to switch to raise dead once you get into those combats to bring even more stuff, and you grind the opponent down. Your attacking punch is mostly really there in the bone throwers, and you can throw. You've got 2 chariots to play around, but it's your attacking punch is putting things into range.
2 chariots.
2 chariots only.
2 chariots.
Yeah. Because I wanted to include.
You want a little bit of everything.
I wanted to include everything, and I could find a place with the skeleton cavalry. I would enjoy using this army, and when it's all really painted nicely, I've seen Shane Streeting's Tomb Kings looks amazing. like where he painted them up. I think he used Greenskin Miniatures range. And they can look fantastic on the table. That is what I've gone for. I've gone for the something everything horde approach, defensive outlook. Barry, what have you gone for?
It's quite lame.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I've got a Tomb King army and I haven't even based it because I've never felt motivated. I've built enough lists for it and then just think, So my list would be, I'd have 6 bowmen and 6 skeletons, and they'd basically just be a little mini brigades of a skeleton bowman on the front and supported by a skeleton, hopefully in a defensive position. Then you've got 2 skull chuckers and 2 bone throwers.
So you go for the artillery?
Well, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
No, so and that's your thing to make the game happen.
Yep.
Because eventually you'll win, either they'll on turns or they're going to have to come and take some punishment. And then you got your six bowmen shooting. So you've got quite a lot of stuff for them to fight through.
Yeah.
And then we've got our counter punch. So we've got 6 chariots.
6 chariots. You went for 6 chariots. Yep.
6 chariots. And then we've got a Tomb King, which we have to have. 4 Lich Priests, which we have to have. And a Zombie Dragon.
Yep. So you've cut down on the range of options and put into the chariots. Yeah, the maximum amount of chariots you get. That's a typical Barry Pool list. Barry and Pool lists.
Well, I wanted a Zombie Dragon because we can cause terror and not suffer it.
So yeah.
I wanted 6 chariots. And you've got your minimum package, which eats, and there's nothing, and you want your artillery. There's nothing left. I couldn't even afford carrying. Couldn't even afford a spell scroll.
Yeah, that's true. What's your break point?
11.
11. Yeah.
Which is yours? It's
14. Yeah. So 3. Yeah, 3 on it. Yeah. Fair enough. So that's cool. Styles make matches. So there's I've looked at this from my approach. You've looked at it from yours.
Yeah, I just find that
2 ways to different play.
The game has kind of swung around a little bit back towards cavalry.
Yeah, cavalry's
monsters.
king. Cavalry is king.
Cavalry's and monsters, and I think. What have I got that's going to deal with that? I've only really got chariots in this list. Yeah. Probably.
You got your Doom and Despairs?
Got my Doom and Despairs, but I'm going to need to go out and attack them, aren't I?
Yeah.
I think, eventually.
So with my army list, I would use the scenery to my advantage, but I wouldn't attack the opponent much. I would begin it at range, and I'd look to do.
That's what you're all hoping to do with.
My army is going to play a lot of turns. If I play the game that I want to play, my army's going to play a lot of turns and dig up the opponent and eventually win that way. Grind them down.
What I find if you're playing a defensive army, just to go off on a tangent, is they can struggle in scenario play. Because you need to castle up.
Because you need to get somewhere as well.
So you need to get a hill, get your shit on a hill, get your troops surrounding the hill, and then you need stuff to get out and play the scenario.
That's right, yeah.
So which is why I kind of can't see past the 6 chariots and the flying lich, and because I've got to get out and do stuff.
So it's going to be a problem if the opponent uses their scenery well against you, for example. So that can be a problem because you've got to remember the limitations of chariots.
What's the alternative? Horses with 2 attacks.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's
can't go in a wood.
Yeah, no, so it's just watch out. It's if someone was playing against your list, for example, and go, oh my god, what I'm going to do about 6 chariots. Go find some scenery.
I can still shoot them.
That
is something that you can do.
And in fact, in some ways, your army shoots more than mine. Even.
Well, no, it's aimed around shooting. I've not been that guy. But everything's shooting apart from the 6 skeletons.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Because we've gone for a defensive shooting army, but I don't like playing it because I'd like to be on the front foot. I favour offensive armies.
Yeah, you're more aggressive.
I'm happy to take an army without any shooting.
Yep.
Like vampires or ogres or something, just go out and fight.
But either of our ways here, both our Tomb King's armies will play. Both those builds are going to be very different from a Vampire Count's army. So
although mine's probably leaning more towards.
Yours leans more towards Vampire Counts, but you've got range in it.
So the big problem with it is you've got a toolbox, but your tools are all blunt, and rusted,
and old, and dead.
So if you've got to get into a wood and dig something out, there's nothing.
No, you got. There's
nothing.
No, you got that. You're better off surrounding the wood and letting them starve. You ain't gonna run out of food.
I think my list can play scenarios, but it is a bit too defensive. So just because, but
you're pushing the limitations of the army list that you have. Is in terms of you're playing. You've got Tomb Kings. They're not something you've naturally warmed to yourself.
No, but if I have to build a list,
if
I have to build a list,
that's what you come up with.
It's not necessarily a nice list to play against, but if I had to take a list to a tournament, this is what I'd take.
Fair enough then.
I think.
With mine, I would. You need some practice games because you need to push a big army around you at speed. You need practice with it. Yeah,
I think if I had to make a change, I'd maybe lose the zombie dragon and bring in Carrion and maybe a Dispel Skull or a ring.
Yeah, fair enough.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because the dragon's luxury.
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, when it works, it works.
Right, of course, yeah.
But the problem with lots of things, like if you've got a dragon here, you can't just chuck it in a bunch of skeletons and hope for it to live, a dragon character, because it's even if it doesn't die in combat, you're never going to keep it alive because they're so fucking weak.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're in the open because you've got dragon in them. Well, where are you going to fucking hide it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've got to know where you can tap it into.
It's not like you're sticking it in a unit of Black Knights. That's what I'm saying. You can put it in the middle of a lot of chariots and they're shooting, and the chariot should keep stuff away from it. But
yeah,
I mean, one of the great things about Warmaster is how a few changes can make armies feel so different. And this is not everything's for everybody. No, it's important. So this army isn't for me.
Yeah,
but it needs to exist because lots of people like it and like to play it. But I can't get my head around how to play this army successfully because its weaknesses are kind of things I don't enjoy being weaknesses in my play.
But in a system where we've got 25 armies,
25, exactly right.
It's like, well, you like having some that aren't your cup of tea is good. Like, you're not going to have 20. You're not going to like 25 cups of tea.
No, exactly.
You're going to like your Earl Grey.
But what I was trying to get at is it's important that this army has weaknesses.
Yes.
Because if you say, what is the weakness of this army? Well, it's got shitty infantry. So give it some good infantry. Now but what's wrong with the list?
Yeah, what's wrong with it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There was no weakness in this list.
Because there's been some chat about, Ushapti. Ushapti are basically...
Are you talking about Tomb
Kings?
No. Yeah. So what's the equivalent in,
They'd be like ogres.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so...
Ogres?
Yeah, ogres or Chaos Warriors would be equivalent. Ushapti.
Chaos Warriors? Oh, my God.
I mean, it would exactly. It would give Tomb Kings exactly what they need. Yeah, so there's a problem.
Yeah, so well, if you want to play slightly better infantry, I don't know, they're normally slightly better. Grey Guard are not like top tier infantry, but they're good. Then play vampires.
Yeah,
and then you have to trade off all the other stuff.
All the other stuff. You have no ranged attacks. Yeah,
nothing.
Well, maybe a spell.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you're never going to cast that. You're not going
to get enough. You've only got 2 necromancers.
And maybe you can't affect the same unit twice with the same spell. So, yeah, it's but you trade all the shooting for a better infantry and Black Knights.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just end up eventually with 25 different colours of the same army.
Yes. Yeah.
Because everybody's got everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just red versus blue.
Yeah.
Or you end up. I'm really enjoying a chess series on TV on BBC Two at the moment.
Chess.
I love chess, and it's just a jazzed up chess tournament they're playing. But it's otherwise you end up with chess, and the only difference is black or white. White goes first.
That's true.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
It does make a difference. You want to go first. Yes, you do.
But, so I think it's important to have distinctions between, and even though, I mean, is the list perfect?
No.
But it's got some strengths.
Yeah, it's cool, and it will narratively, some people are going to really warm to it.
Was the Empire list perfect that we did last time?
Exactly not. No.
Yeah. But I think
Tomb Kings generally are neutral. Are they evil?
Are
they good? What's their empire? You would say, well, they're good because they're fighting they want to protect themselves and they want to protect those who are weaker than them against the aggressor. Tomb Kings are they? They're not good or evil.
They're just nothing.
They are the most neutral. Ogres, they're just neutral. They are themselves. They're well, we didn't want to be in this situation. We are in this situation, and we're kind of messed up. We're trying to recreate our whatever their motivations are. As I say, imagining living in a world where everybody in your family was around at the same time, whoever ever existed, people you never met, is your family, and you've all got to get along. All rowing.
That's dreadful. Anyway, so we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
We've kept it under an hour, which is our
statement. What we try to do.
And then next time, I don't know what we're going to do.
You said it was Chaos next, wasn't it?
No, next. That'll be in a few episodes' time. We're going to do something around the results, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the results are already floating around, but that's no big deal. If you want to go find them, they're on the experimental forum.
Yep.
Otherwise, wait until Chris and Alice post their book.
We will present a episode where we go through in detail the votes that passed, the votes that didn't, why they are there, and our thoughts about it. And it should be, and the game has changed.
Yeah. So this was episode 198 with Fallen Baron.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Hopefully you've got your Tomb Kings vibe on. Man.
Yeah.
Go out and get some bony buddies. Dusty dudes.
Dusty dudes.
Good night.
Two of you together, that's fine. But what if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British.
Two of you together, that's fine. But what if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British.